Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Unravel Your Mind. It's about transforming relationships to love and life. And it's all about breaking through beliefs so that we can tap into our own inner wisdom. And we use the book Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics for some talking points, but you're welcome to ask any questions about the book, stories in the book, something that maybe is on your mind or in your heart or in your life right now. So it doesn't have to be a story about the book, but anything that would help you to transform your relationships to love and life and to break through those beliefs. So let's see if we have a caller that has a question. Is there anyone that has a question that wants to jump in?
Hi, Beth.
Hi.
I love your book so much, and thank you so much for taking my call today.
Yes.
I do have a question to ask. I tend to let small things go in my personal relationships, in my professional relationships, any kind of relationships. And I feel like it's such a small thing that I'm okay with it, but eventually, maybe similar small things, it's not okay anymore.
Yeah.
And in your book, I relate myself so much to many, many scenes. But the very, very beginning, I was you when you are kind of trying not to express your small desire to your partner. So when do you think small things should be recognized as not so small?
Yeah.
When should the desire or the needs to be addressed? Is it
Yeah.
because I want to be a patient? I want to be patient, but at
Yes.
the same time, I don't want to ignore myself
Yes.
anymore.
Yes. I think that is a great question because I know what you're referencing. It's the section in the book where I talk about how I wasn't able to buy some things that I really wanted, some small things like Jiffy Corn muffin mix.
Yes,
And
that's
I
it.
say, yeah. And then I say, it's interesting how those small things can turn into big themes over time.
Yeah.
So your question is a really good one. And it's when is it that we say something? Because we also have that phrase, don't sweat the small stuff, right? I didn't put that in my book, but we all know that phrase. And to some degree, I think that that's true. It's to not get too caught up in the small things. But to answer your question very specifically, here is the really important point. It's how does it make you feel? You have to go into the feeling of how is that making me feel? And is that something that I need to clear with this person? Or is it something that I can easily just toss away and not sweat the small stuff? But if it's something that you just shove away and you say, "Oh, I'm not going to say anything," but it makes me feel a certain way, then I guarantee you it will become a big theme throughout your life. Um, so important to speak your truth and so difficult sometimes. So I think the earlier you can speak your truth and the earlier you can talk about those small things, the better. Because as you know, I think anyone with any life experience knows that when we don't talk about those small things, they start to fester and they turn into bigger things. And then when we go to try to talk about them, what happens? We can't because they're so
Right.
complicated and they're so convoluted with so many things. And, women, and this may sound very stereotypical, and I'm sure to some degree men have this too, but what I noticed through the experience of my life is that women have a photographic memory of anything and everything a man has ever done to her that's made her feel bad.
Yeah.
So, with that, and knowing that most of us, a lot of us, have this trait, it's so important that we go into that heart space and we talk about how it made us feel. And I think sometimes we don't want to do that because we don't want to hurt the other person. But we hurt the other person more down the road if we haven't spoken our truth up front, if we haven't been able to clear
Right.
before, it turns into just this big mountain of emotion, and then we're really upset and we can't even get the words out. So the earlier the better, but also tuning into your heart to know, is this something that I really need to address, or is this something I can just let go, but don't shove it down, right? That's the real important thing.
So, relating to that,
Mhm.
even if so nowadays I try to feel how I am feeling.
Yeah.
But then I find myself, it's so hard to feel myself.
Yeah.
I just don't know. It's me, but I don't. I feel like I don't know myself. I don't even know how I am feeling. I feel so confused at times. And then by the time I figured it out, it's kind of like so many days or years already passed. And then the moment that I should have said something, the moment is gone.
Yes. Well, and that's just practice. That's
Okay.
practice. And I think also that's a really good point that you bring up, that sometimes we can't articulate our feelings, and that's why we don't say something right away, right? We just don't have words for it, or we reflect on it later, and then it becomes something more. I say practice. Practice having those difficult conversations. And I think sometimes our romantic partnerships, especially in the early days, are a little bit harder because we're trying to get to know someone. But the more you can practice right up front, and if you don't know how you feel, but you know you're having a feeling, something's hit you and you're like, something about that doesn't feel right, but I don't know what it is. Simply say that. You know, when you said this, I just kind of got this feeling, and I can't really articulate it, or I can't really say exactly what it is, but something about it just hit me in a weird way, and I just want to clear it with you. And if
That's
they're the type of person that doesn't have the capacity to hear you say just that, then thank you, next, right?
that
When
is true. Okay, I could do that. I can do
Yeah.
that. That
Because if
is
it's someone,
very
if it's someone that can't listen, and
accessible.
it's not someone who wants to understand, ideally that person would say to you, "Oh, tell me more. You know what, well, what is it that you do feel?" And that will invite you to be able to say more. And I have a feeling, I'm just kind of intuitively saying this, but I have a feeling that somewhere in your life, someone stopped you from telling them how you feel because they didn't really want to hear how you felt for whatever reason. Maybe
Yeah.
it's too busy or whatever, but it's something that stuck with you. And so you have a hesitancy, which many of us do, but you in particular have a hesitancy to want to say something because someone hasn't wanted to hear what you had to say. And that's just telling you that that's not the right person for you to be sharing your time with. And yeah, it's also friends, right? Friends, practice with friends. Friends are sometimes less of a charge, and a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times female friends and male friends can sit with us a little bit more and not have the awkwardness of the romantic chemistry. So it's a good place to practice with friends, and friends that really do want to hear what you have to say. But
Right.
practicing, I don't know exactly how I feel. I just know that I'm having a feeling and I want to explore it with you. And
Wow, that is so good. Wow, thank you, Beth. Yeah, I could do that. That is very accessible and I could do that. Thank you.
okay, yes, great. I'm glad that helped.
Oh,
Any other questions from the live callers? If not, I'll check the chat here while everyone else thinks about what they might want to ask about. Okay, well, here's one. This one's an interesting one. Do you think everyone should take psychedelics? I do say in my book that psychedelics are not for everyone, and I'm not sure if those are my exact words, but psychedelics in a sense are for everyone, but not necessarily at a particular time. So psychedelics are right for you when you know that psychedelics are right for you, not because your friend's doing it or because a lover or a spouse or sister or brother has told you you should do it. It's really the sacred time that you and your soul decide that it's time to step forward and have a psychedelic experience. And then I'm very much an advocate of setting, and server, so that you have your mindset, you have intention set, your setting, your environment of where you are, that it's safe and comfortable and that you feel safe. And then the server is also really, really important, that you've had a conversation with them, that you understand their intentions, and you understand what types of people they are attracting to their group sessions, if it's a group session. Because all of that's very, very important. When we start opening ourselves up to other realms, we want to just make sure that we feel safe and that we're with other people that are like-minded, that are there for expansion of consciousness, healing wounds, not necessarily people who are just there to go have a trip, shoot themselves out there, come back and not do any of the integration work. So that's the next thing I'll say too, is that integration work is a huge part of making a decision to do psychedelics. So it's about what are we going to bring back and actually embody here on this earth plane, with the knowledge that we learn when we're out there in the cosmos. Any other questions from the live callers?
I have one more question.
Great.
It's difficult to see oneself usually, but it's easier to see other people's, I guess. Not the problem, but the situation. So I was reading your book and I'm wondering when you are going through all these journeys, at any point, if anybody said anything to you when you are dating this, I think his name was Klaus, that when you were dating the devil, if anybody, could anybody have said anything to you to, I don't want to say save from the situation, but change your mind about your partner?
Yeah. That's also a great question. I think there's a lot of people out there that wish that they could have saved me from having to have that experience. But I truly believe that we are the creator of our own lives and that we are asking these characters to come in to help us learn some really important lessons. Not a lesson that I thought I was up for, but certainly one that made me a lot wiser and a lot stronger. I really, at that point in my life, I was full of light and love, and I thought that I was only going to attract the same. I had no thought that someone with evil or bad intentions or nefarious intentions would come across my path, nonetheless be a lover of mine. So, and someone that I thought that I was going to marry. So it was probably not a situation that anyone could have stopped me from having, because it was in my soul's plan. It was a karmic alignment. It's something that I believe that he and I agreed a role that he would play when he came into my life, and that I knew that I was going to get the lessons from the journey. So as difficult as it is, I don't think that there is anyone that could have stopped me, and I don't think anyone should have, because that was just a really important lesson that I came here to learn. And I also think that I came here to learn it so that I could speak about it and that I could talk to others about it, because I think admittedly many women and men who date narcissists and sociopaths, they honestly, they don't want to talk about it because it's quite embarrassing. It's like, how is that possible that I got myself into that situation and that I couldn't get myself out and that I brought him back in? Right. So it happens to all of us in these narcissistic, sociopathic relationships, because that's how they work. They're working to twist things, our reality, and to be on our life cord and to do psychic attacks and to create chaos within our own minds. That's how they work. That's how they operate.
Mhm.
So I think that it's a great experience for me, and that I can talk about it and I can tell people about it, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to tell people about it, because I recognize how many people have suffered from being with a narcissist, or a sociopathic narcissist, if you're so lucky to get the two combined. Yeah, so I think that that's the point of the whole book, actually, is
Good.
sharing all of those stories about life, and sharing the ones that aren't, that I'm not so proud of, or that I'm not so happy for everyone to know about, because I know that so many other people have suffered similar things, and I want us to be able to talk about it. I want us to shine the light and speak our truth and heal our wounds and move forward, and not live in shame or in emotions that are no longer serving us. So yeah, so I appreciate you asking that question. And as I said, I'm sure there's so many people that wish that they could have done something to stop it, but I it was part of my destiny.
I see. So, as a friend, if I were by you, what could I have done for you?
Loved me. Just
Oh, of
loved
course.
me and supported me. Yes, just loved me and supported me, and probably reflected, what your observations were. If you were someone that would have been near me at the time. But again, that was also part of the whole thing. I was in Singapore. I didn't have as many friends over there.
Right.
narcissists and sociopaths work in a way that they disconnect you from your friends. So a
Mm,
lot of times your friends don't get a say because they don't get to spend enough time with them, or they're so elusive in how they interact, and it's always very quick and spontaneous, and they don't want people to read them. So the last thing the sociopath or a narcissist wants is for a dear friend who cares and adores that person to get a read on them, because they'll sniff them out. So yeah, it's just unfortunately how it works. But I think, just supporting and being available for someone when they're in a situation like that, and just continuing to let them know that they care and love them and support them.
that's a okay. Again, those are something used to feel so difficult for me to do, but now it feels like, yeah, I could do that. Actually very accessible. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. Well, the other thing that comes to mind though is this is a really tough part. Everyone has free will. And, let's just take this to another example, which was not an example for me in my life, but there's a lot of women who are beaten emotionally and physically, and they're not able to find it within themselves to leave. And
right.
people come and they rip them out of those homes and they put them in shelters, and they end up back, in their home with
Mm.
their abusers. And so there's also an element sometimes of just recognizing that everybody has free will and that they are the creator of their life. And again, just really holding the space, certainly providing people resources, providing them reflections, um, asking them to go into their heart space, asking if they do want help. I think all of those things are really good things to do as a support person. But again, my point there was just free will. Everyone has free will. Everyone's designing their journey to learn their lessons in the way that they felt guided to do before they even came into this lifetime. So yeah, sometimes there's very little that we can do to help our loved ones in those difficult situations like that.
I see. Yes, you're right, I think. But thank you. Thank you so much.
Um, okay, so there's another question here in the chat. It says, what do you mean by unraveling the mind? So that's actually in the subtitle of the book. And this is also a really great topic to discuss, because I think many years ago, when I was deeply on my spiritual journey, the last thing I thought I wanted to do was to lose my mind or unravel my mind, because it had some negative connotation to it. But really, what I mean by unraveling the mind is unraveling the stories and the programs that we were taught at such a young age that we don't even know we're running on, but we they were instilled in us when we were young, in our communities, from our parents, from our, if we have a religious background, all of these different things, our cultural backgrounds, our community and our cities, our countries, all of this had an impact on our belief system. And I'm not suggesting that beliefs are bad. I'm suggesting that there's a lot of beliefs in there that aren't necessarily true. And we think that they're true because we're just indoctrinated with these ideas. And so we want to just ever so gently start unraveling what some of those ideas and beliefs are, because a lot of them aren't serving our higher good. They're not here to help us know how powerful we are. They're ideas and beliefs that came in to keep us small and to keep us from shining our light bright. And so when we unravel our mind, we tap into that inner wisdom and our light gets brighter, and we're able to share our wisdom and insights and knowledge with others, and also just live a more blissful life, just be happier. So that's the important message behind unraveling the mind. And psychedelics happen to be a way that you can access an unraveling of the mind a little bit faster. I don't think fast is good or bad. I did 20 years of spiritual deep diving, and I built a lot of tools for my spiritual toolbox. And so I think that's also really, really important to help you unravel your mind. But psychedelics can also be a way to just shut off that default mode network and stop the program, so that you can hear spirit speak and feel the connection to source that you are always connected to, that you are a part of, although you're here individually expressing yourself in this human body, in this meat suit, but you're still connected. You're connected to all that is. So Yeah, unraveling the mind just helps us see through all of the illusional veils so that we can really be in our strongest power and who we really are.
Can you talk about? I want to ask you about two things. I don't even, I'm practicing now. I don't even know how to ask these questions, but two things about jealousy and money.
Okay. Just in general, you want me to comment on jealousy and money, or is there something more?
So I find myself sometimes I don't know, but I feel like sometimes I find people treat me a little bit unreasonable, I guess if I could say. So one of my friends one day told me, "Oh, maybe she is jealous." But the thing is, a lot of times I don't even know what that person is jealous about. So then when I don't know the reasons, I guess I am kind of left in this uneasy feelings. So then, and I find myself feeling like this about around jealousy, which I don't recognize. Somehow I am not a very jealous person, but I feel like I'm not saying people are jealous of me, but I'm interested how jealousy works in people's mind. And also, money is an interesting topic, which a lot of people don't talk about. And I feel like, I don't know why. I just wanted to ask. I guess money in general, I guess is okay. It's something that we need to, I guess, to um, live in a system. It's something, the physical thing that we need to.
So you're saying the two separate ideas, not necessarily jealousy related to money, but as a separate.
No, right.
Okay.
There are two
Okay.
separate topics.
Yeah. Well, jealousy in my mind is simply a lack. Someone who sees a lack in themselves and they see that part, because remember, we're only mirrors for each other, right? So when someone's jealous of you, it's just a mirror for them to see something that they're thinking is of lack for them. And they're living out of fear, not out of love, right? And so the best thing we can do is just continue to shine love their way. It doesn't mean we give away all of our light to them or we give them all of our energy. No, it just means that we just shine the light their way and we don't get into the discussions or the energy of jealousy, and that we just go, oh, I see my brother, my sister, spiritually, figuratively saying that, oh, I see that they're suffering an element of lack in their life. They see themselves as less than for whatever reason, and just think of them in their inner child almost. And then you go, oh, and sometimes people get really nasty with jealousy. And then there's times when you just need to really walk away from relationships because then they become toxic, because then they're trying to, really put their jealousy vibration onto you. And then that's a whole different thing in how you would handle it. But if it's someone who's just a little jealous here and there, just know that they're just on their journey. They're just finding their way, and they're just seeing lack within themselves, scarcity, and living out of fear and not love. So the more you can shine love to them, the more love they'll feel, and the more quickly, typically, they're able to move through these things of jealousy. Now, sometimes the more love you shine, the more jealous they get. Because it's just like when someone's super happy, sometimes if you're not in a great mood, it's just kind of hard for someone to be super happy. And then when they get happier, then it's like so frustrating. You're like, oh my goodness, I can't stand this person right now. Right. So that's just a time where we just honor that maybe we're just vibrating at different levels, and we're all working through our own shit, if you will. And we are just needing to blow that up, and we're needing to release that. So what is it? What is it about her that she's reflecting to me? What's the lesson for me? And getting that, and then moving beyond it. So jealousy can be a hard one, because I know that sometimes it can be really stabbing and really painful. And
Right.
and not feel nice. But again, I think it's also deflecting that and saying, no, that's theirs, not mine. I give that back to you. I give that energy back to you, loving way, right? Not even necessarily in words, just in a vibration, in an
Right.
intention, in a mindset.
Okay.
So before I jump on money, is that helpful on jealousy?
Yes, it's helpful. And then I'm just assuming because somebody kind of advised me, maybe it's jealousy. But the thing is, sometimes I don't even know if it's jealousy or something else. Did I do something else? Like I second guess myself, and then like I started kind of like trying to look for an answer for like when people start being unreasonable, according to my, I guess, personal opinion.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, I actually don't know if it's a jealousy or if they just don't like
Yeah.
me or they just go.
Well, you know what? There's an easy way to find out. Just ask.
Oh
And
my God, no. Like, are you jealous like that?
no, no, not quite
Oh,
like that. Not quite
okay.
that, not quite in your face. But you say to them, I'm picking up this feeling that maybe there's something between us, and I appreciate if you appreciate the friendship. I appreciate your friendship, and I just like to know, like, is there something like we can just clear so we can move on, or did I do
Uh,
something,
so
or
it's like
did I
similar to
say
the
something?
small thing. Yeah, that is true. I can apply that. Yes. Okay.
Yes. And it's just, again, not being worried. And look, if they freak out on you or they're like, what are you talking about? Then you know that they might not be someone that you want to spend your time with,
That
because
is so
they're
true.
not someone who wants to show up to
Right.
understand you, right? We want people in our life who want to understand us,
Yeah.
even when we can't articulate how we feel.
That's so, so true. And it's so interesting how my like seemingly different questions actually eventually ultimately was the same question.
It's, I think it's that way about life in general, right? Everything narrows down to, is it fear or love? And is it, are we speaking the truth? Are we speaking our truth? And are we speaking from our heart, or are we speaking from our head? And that's like, if we boiled everything down, that pretty much covers everything, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason why we don't speak our truth is we worry about getting hurt. We worry about hurting others. And in the end, the best thing to do is speak our truth. Sometimes we have to use a little discernment. Sometimes people aren't worth our truth either. There's situations like that. But yeah, you're right. It all kind of comes back to that same thing of attracting people who want to hear about us and what we think and how we feel, even when we can't articulate it.
Wow. This is a very simple but a powerful um realization, like learning of today that I can apply to anything every day. And I feel like it's gonna make my life so much easier.
Yay. Okay, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. I'd love to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Should we also touch on money?
Yeah, yes, yeah, that would be
Okay. Well, money is a fascinating thing, because money often is equated with power. And I believe that we're moving into a whole new time-space reality where love is the new currency. And yes, I agree with you that we need money in this third dimensional realm. We need money to pay bills and to do all these things. But it's also about doing things from our heart, finding things that we want to do from our heart place. And I know sometimes the things that are in our heart place don't always give the same paycheck as some of the things that aren't in our heart space. And so there's sometimes a trade-off, I think, but it's always asking myself, am I sabotaging myself? Am I prostituting myself? And I don't mean prostituting in the sex way, I mean in an energy way. Am I giving more
mm,
than I'm receiving? And is that balance okay? Right. So if you're in a job that maybe isn't 100% heart space, but you're giving and receiving is a good balance for you. It's giving you resources, and you're giving resources back, and you're feeling validated, then that's great. So we don't all have to leave our normal jobs.
right.
We just need to be in a job where we feel, again, valued and heard and seen, and preferably in a place that fits that passion button in ourselves, so that we can feel like we're really aligned with our purpose. And sometimes we have to do the working on the railroad jobs, get to a place where then we can move into our passion projects later, or have our passion projects on the side. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's, we can navigate in this world and do it all.
Mhm.
But I think, again, the most important thing is having love as the new currency, because that really determines how rich are you, right? How rich are you has to do with where are you at in your heart, and your intention for humanity, and your intention to contribute, and to be present, and to still enjoy yourself, and still have luxuries, and all of that. So we don't have to sacrifice things. Yeah, we can have everything we want and still contribute to humanity. So yeah, money is a very interesting energy, and one that I think we all struggle with at various levels at various times in our life. But yeah, I think it's just not giving it the power that the societal norms and the societal constructs of this external world give it. That's the trick, is not seeing it as a power play. Of course, it brings opportunity, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be your power center. Your love is your power center.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions from the live callers? All right. All right. I have one last one here, and then yeah, this one looks like it's coming. I don't know exactly who wrote this or where they're located at, but it's a good one. It's a juicy one. Putting herpes in the title was bold. How did you overcome the fear to be able to do that? Well, first of all, Spirit told me that I needed to have herpes on the book. Spirit told me angels, herpes, and psychedelics. And so I said, are you serious? Spirit said yes. And so I did, and I put it on there. When I wrote about my experience being exposed to herpes in my very first draft of the book, I simply said that I had been exposed to herpes, and I didn't actually say that I had tested positive. And I was going to leave it open and just leave it as a quandary for people. And then we were in the midst of COVID, and I started to understand that everyone knew what virus shame was. And the Spirit spoke again and said, no, you need to go into the deeper aspect of this. And I was like, oh my goodness, seriously? Like, I need to tell the world that I was positive for herpes? Are you kidding me? It became very, very clear that that was exactly what I was supposed to do, and that it's another one of those taboo topics that needs to get opened up. And why? Because people suffer so much shame around this virus. It's like the modern day leprosy story from the Bible, where people felt ostracized and shameful. And luckily, I've had a lot of incredible opportunities to heal mentally and physically from the virus. And I just want other people to have that as well, because it hasn't impacted my life now. It did in the beginning, but it doesn't impact my life now. This virus is like any other virus that you might get. And when you have the flu virus, people probably that are your partners or your boyfriends or girlfriends, they don't kiss you on the lips, do they? No, because they don't want to get the virus. So it's really about taking this massively negative stigma off of it. When someone's sick, you feed them chicken soup. It's like, it's just coming back to this as we don't have to carry shame around this. And the more we don't have the shame and the guilt, well, the less we suffer, number one, but the more open conversations we can have around our sexual intimacy with others. And we don't have to hold back worrying about that, that herpes talk. In fact, I just had a nice conversation with an herbalist who has a lot of different tinctures that he creates for herpes, people that suffer from the herpes virus. And he said to me, because I said, what does that herpes talk look like in your mind? He said, first of all, don't ever have a herpes talk. And I was like, what? And he's like, no, we're in 2023. We need to have sex talks. We need to talk about, the intimacy aspect of this. And it should happen like the immediate moment that you go, I have some special feelings for this person, and I know that our chemistry is eventually going to lead in that direction. He's like, bring it up right away. You don't have to wait until you're, at that hot and heated moment. Talk about it early on. and get the truth out. And so again, it's always comes back to just telling the truth and using discernment. Like, look, if you're scared to tell this person that you have herpes, for any listeners out there that might be in this situation, then you need to be able to speak your truth if you're going to open up your body and your soul and the act of sexual intimacy. So I think when we actually just sit back and we go, yeah, of course, and there's so much more I want to know about this person before I agree to be sexually intimate with them. So there's a lot of things that need to get talked about, sensuality preferences, other STDs that they may carry. There's lots of things that you want to know, because the moment you have intimacy, sexual intimacy with someone, you are on each other's life cords. You're starting to build a bond. And the longer you're with someone, the stronger the bond. And so you want to know as much as you can about that person before you open yourselves up. Just because it's the, hot and heavy moment, it's not worth what you're opening yourself up to in the end on so many levels. So yeah, so it was, I guess it was spirit that broke me through to answer the question. It was really spirit guiding me, saying, this is what you need to do. And it was about me stepping back and saying, yeah, you know what? Because if I can help one other person not suffer and get to the place that I'm at, which is not suffering about this virus, not having it impact my life or my sensuality or my sexuality, that's worth it to me. Because there's over 450 million people that are actually, I guess, diagnosed. And so there's so many more that have been tested positive for herpes. So it's out there. Many people have this, and more people than you would ever know. And so it's just a really, really important topic for us to talk about. All right, I see some other questions coming in from the chat. What are the basic intimate questions you recommend us to have in a romantic relationship? I think, number one, there's a question that you need to ask to yourself, which is back to the heart center. How do I feel about this person? And what are the initial thoughts that I felt about this person? I don't know if you ever read the book Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, but he says that, we pretty much know things like immediately, and we do, but it's our ability to fall in love with a man or a woman's potential that often gets us in trouble. We start to fantasize about how they can fit the mold that we want them to be in, as opposed to what they're actually telling us in the first 5 minutes or the first date. So listen first and foremost to your heart. Listen to what that relationship is telling you. And then the intimate questions, I think those are they're definitely about sexual partners. And it's also about, I think, commitment. So you can understand, like, what's their level of commitment? Like, do they need commitment before they have sexual intimacy, or are they okay with multiple partners or not? I think all of those give you some really good indicators as to where the person's at. I also think that, although maybe a lot of people won't have an answer to this, I would ask how open they are to Tantra and to lessons of Tantra, or to going to something, a seminar session about Tantra. I think that's going to give you a really good idea of whether or not that person is in it for the energetic, intimacy exchange with you as a person, or if they're just looking, to have an orgasm and have sex and fill a biological need, right? So are we doing this just for biological needs? I mean, some people do, and that's fine. If both partners, that's all they want is just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and that's it, then I guess then they're a match. I don't think that's probably what a lot of the listeners, here think, but it's not a judgment. It's just a find out, because men have a very different program running as far as what sex means to them, what they need to be able to have sex, what they don't care if they have. Whereas women are much more complex in many cases, and we have a lot more emotions involved. And so we should identify where that partner is before we get sexually intimate with them, so that we have a better idea of whether they're, are they just a fling, or are they someone that we're really looking to build a relationship with, and that we're open. And look, here's the other really important thing. If you're with someone and you're considering having sexual intimacy with them, but you feel like everything in your body says that you can't ask them a question, then you got to really be asking yourself a question. Is it something about them, or is it something about me? Is it my block that I'm not able to articulate my emotions, or is it something about them that's giving me that feeling that they don't want to have that type of conversation? And that is such an important determining factor. And I can't tell you how many times I've probably ignored that early on in a relationship. And it comes, we get it, it's our intuition, our instinct, and then we just kind of let it go and let it drift away, but it comes back to bite us in the end. So just sitting and being really present with someone. And I also think just talking with your eyes is, you can ask a lot of questions through your eyes and get a lot of answers through your eyes without any words. So even if you're someone who can't articulate a word, you can tell. It's just breathe deep, breathe in, get rid of the nervousness about, what does this person think about me, or what are they going to say? And just be in that really present moment of wanting to understand who they are and what they're offering you as a partner in sexual intimacy, or as a relationship as a whole. So hopefully that answers the question. Any other last questions? We're just about down to the end here. Anything else that comes up from our live audience, or any more chats? Let's just see. I'm going to check real quick. Okay, I think we're complete on the chat, and I think the live callers are complete too. So thank you, everyone. You can subscribe to @BethBellLive, hit the bell, because that will always give you the notifications when new episodes drop. And you can also find more information on bethbell.me. It includes the Awakening and Healing Handbook, the Bliss Book Club, and so many other resources that I think you'll find really, really helpful on your awakening and healing journey. So I hope to see you on the next episode of Unravel Your Mind.